Welcome back to Speller Tutorial Services. In today's video, we're going to write the first four terms of a sequence given the general form. And here the general form is already written for us in orange. And that's a sub n is equal to 4 times n plus 3. So let's generate this first term. So the first term is a sub 1, which means 4 times 1 plus 3. Well, 4 times 1 is 4 plus the 3 to give me 7. To get the next term, it's a sub 2, which is going to be 4 times 2 plus 3. Well, 4 times 2 is 8 plus 3 to give me 11. The third term is a sub 3, which is going to be 4 times 3 plus 3. Well, 4 times 3 is 12 plus that 3 to give me 15. And then the last term, a sub 4, is going to give me 4 times 4 plus 3. And 4 times 4 is 16 plus that 3 to give me 19. And now I want to pull up the Texas Instrument calculator, because I'm going to use the calculator to also verify this information, or to verify this listing. So I begin by pressing second and then the curly brace. I want the first one here to indicate the first term, and then a comma. I figured out what the first term is, which is a 7, so I'm going to place a 7 there, and then second curly brace again, and then I'm going to press enter. Next, I'm going to start another list. So second and then curly brace. And what I'm going to do now is use the answer functionality of the calculator. So I'm going to press second and then answer. And I want to pull the first item from the list. So I'm going to use answer with a 1 in the parentheses. So what that's going to do is pull this 1 from the previous list. And since I'm dealing with the second term, I want to add 1 to that. So answer with 1 in parentheses plus 1 is going to evaluate to 2. And then I'm going to place a comma here, and now I want to put in an expression to calculate the second term. Well, the second term is going to be 4 times a 2 in this case. So I'm going to use answer 1. So second answer, where I'm going to pull the 1, which in this case is going to be a 1, and then I want to add 1 to that, which is going to make that 2. So in actuality, it's going to be 4 times 2, and then I want to do plus 3, because that's what my general form is. And I want to press second and then close it with the curly brace, and then press enter to get my second term. Well, my second term is coming out to be a 2. It's coming out to be an 11, just like I suspected here by hand. I press enter again to get the third term. We see the third term is 15, just like we calculated. I press enter again, and I see that my fourth term is 19, again, just as we calculated. So what I want to do now is put the calculator away, and let's do a second example. In the second example, the general term is going to be a sub n is equal to -1 raised to the n times 1/4 raised to the n. So let's figure out what the first term is going to be. Well, a sub 1 is equal to -1 raised to the 4th times 1/4 raised to the 4th. Well, -1 raised to the first power is still -1, and then 1/4 to the first power is still 1/4. So this first term is -1/4. To get the second term, a sub 2 is going to be -1 raised to the second power times 1/4 raised to the second power. And -1 to the second power is going to be a positive 1, and 1/4 to the second power is going to be 1/16, or 1/16. When I multiply 1 by that, again, I end up with 1/16. When I want to find the third term, -1 raised to the third times 1/4 raised to the third. Well, -1 to the third power gives me a -1, and then 1/4 raised to the third power, well, 4 to the third is going to give me 64. So here my answer is -1 times 1/64 to give me -1/64. And then the last term we want to find is a sub 4, where that's going to be -1 to the 4th times 1/4 raised to the 4th. -1 raised to an even power is going to give me a positive 1, and then 1/4 raised to the 4th power gives me 256. So my fourth term is going to be 1/256. And now let's call up the calculator, and let's use the calculator to again verify these answers. Let's go ahead and clear. And what we're going to do now is start another list. So second and then curly brace. The first item or the first term in the list we said was a negative 1/4. So let's press the alpha and then y equals to get to our fraction template. And we said that it's going to be negative 1 over 4. And then I'm going to press second and then curly brace. And now that's my first term stored in the list. Now let's begin with the second term. So let's do second and then curly brace. We're going to do the same thing we did in the previous example, where I need to get to this 1 in my previous list. So I'm going to press second and then answer. It's the first item in the list, so I'm going to put 1 in the parentheses, and I want the second term, so now I'm going to add 1 to that value, which is going to make that a 2. Now I want to work on my second term, or work on the general form here. So I'm going to put a regular parenthesis, negative 1, and I'm going to raise that to the power of the answer plus 1. So I'm going to use parentheses here, second answer. I want that first 1, and I want to add 1 to that, and then I'm going to close that off. And now I'm going to take the second factor here, which is 1/4. So I'm going to press alpha and then y equals to get to my fraction template. Press 1, and I know I want a 1 in my numerator, a 4 in my denominator. And again, when I go to the exponent, I want to take the answer. I want to grab the first one, which is going to be a 1, and then I want to add 1 to that. So that way this is going to increment to 2, 3, and then 4, and then close it off with a regular parenthesis, and then hit second and curly brace to close that off. Now when I press enter, we see that the second term is 1/16, and let me move this over. We see the second term is 1/16, just like we had figured. When I press enter again, we see the third term is going to be negative 1/64, again, which is what we have down here. And then the last term should be 1 over 256. Let's press enter here, and we see that the fourth term is 1 over 256. Alright, so that sums it up with this video, where we're using the general term to figure out terms in a sequence, and we use the TI-84 calculator to help us verify those answers. Thank you again for watching the video by Speller Tutorial Services, and please friend us and subscribe to our YouTube channel under the name Speller Tutorial. And as always, thank you for watching.